Let's imagine for a second that I lost every single knife in my collection and I had to start over. And maybe I could afford any knife, but I could only have a total of 5 forever for the rest of my life. What would those 5 knives be right now, whether I own them or not? That's what we're going to do in this video. Now, I've already done it for knives under $80, and I really enjoyed that theory crafting video. Now I'm going to do it with no budget whatsoever. I don't normally go into expensive knives, but this is going to be one of those videos. So premium is the name of the game. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, some of you have seen this case before, and it is made by Vault Case, and it is a way that I keep myself from going completely off the rails. Anything that I buy to put in here, I have to take out a knife. And in this case, I also have 6 budget knives that are included with it as well. But I have some seriously premium ones I don't really talk about all that often. So let's go ahead and talk about it. These are the ones that I actually rely on. And when you look at my last video where we did knives under 80, a lot of them are actually in here. We have the Voltaic, we have the Vision FX, we have the CJRB large pyrite, we have the Airlight, we have the Baby Banter. There's all of these knives, and of course the Nightshade. So all of my budget knives being up here. This video is not about picking inexpensive, just looking at what is the best in the respective category. And that's it. They're just the way it's going to be. And so we're going to do it the same way we did in that past video. If you'd like to see that one where it's a little bit more budget centric, I'll leave a link down in the description. But we're going to start with the fidget friendly and beautiful knife. We're going to talk about a knife that would basically be like one of the most enjoyable things I could ever carry. And I think the first one that comes to mind has to be the Factor designed by Brian Winters. Now, not only is this one of the coolest knives in the world, it has a unique magnetic detent system. There's one of the first out there. He's got the exclusive patent for it. And this thing just is insane. It's a small knife coming in under 3 inches. It has a beautiful finish. In fact, this is a 1-of-1 finish he was playing around with, and he asked if this is something I'd be interested in, and of course I said yes. And this would be the no-brainer knife in my collection. If we were doing 5 forever, the satisfaction this knife gives me, the number of intangibles is just as big as it gets. So for me, this is going to be our first knife. It's also going to be a sub 3-inch knife, and it's not very intimidating. So it's a combination of different things. It can be opened a bunch of different ways. It's got a very easy to manipulate lock. It's got a great pocket clip, carbon fiber. And no, you can't get it right now. Good luck. You're gonna have to get on the wait list because this is not a knife that is easy to find. It is one of the hottest ticket items that currently exist. And this would be my first knife, no question. Next knife, we'll talk about daily users. Like, what is a knife that I could use for any task regardless? And it kind of gives me a combination of ergonomics and just good functional features. And for me, that knife is the Hogue. It's going to be a Hogue. It's either going to be the Deca or it's going to be this. Now, this is designed by Doug Ritter, and I think is basically the superior of the 2 knives. 3.5-inch blade, flat grind, but not a full flat grind. And it has MagnaCut blade steel, an incredibly comfortable handle. In fact, one of the most comfortable handles in my collection without question. And yeah, it's fantastic. So it runs on washers, but the action is redonkulous, like amazing. So there's a little bit of a fidget factor, but really what this is just a really good working knife. And actually, this one is surprisingly affordable for a USA-made knife in MagnaCut at around, I think, $170 is what I paid for it. That is a really good, almost a one-and-done kind of knife. You could just go with that and you would be good for almost anything out there. But there's a couple of different categories that we're going to fill in that, well, this doesn't do as well. Category we're going to talk about, which I mirror in my past one, is going to be a water knife, something that I can take around water that I'm not worried about corroding, and I can ignore and use it as a knife, even treating it as much as I would a fixed blade knife, not necessarily for batoning or any crazy stuff, but as something I would use for food. And the first one that comes to mind is going to be this, and I love this knife. I think this could be a one and done knife if you really wanted to. In fact, all of these could kind of be one and done knives. And it has a very thin Vanex super clean blade, very, very, very slicey, great for food prep, and it has a frame lock. So the only thing I will say is if I were to do this again, if we were thinking of a true theoretical and we're not including the things that I own, I would have gotten the G10 version with a liner lock. The reason being, not because of price, but because G10 tends to be a little bit grippier. It also tends to be a little lighter. And the liners are made of LC200N, which is once again a nearly impervious steel to corrosion. So everything with that works just as well. And I also think, if I remember correctly, that the liner lock version is also reversible, has a reversible pocket clip, whereas the titanium frame lock does not. Now in the future, I will probably get a milled pattern on this to increase the grip, but it is a little bit slippery with the plain stonewashed titanium. So just keeping that in mind, I would make sure that if you're going to get a knife for saltwater environments, maybe even go with a saltwater knife from Spyderco, and it'll probably be really good. If we are kind of doing a wish list, this may get replaced in this top 5 by an upcoming knife that is currently not available, and that is the Paramilitary 3 in MagnaCut, and there's a lightweight design. Like that actually would likely replace this as a solution for saltwater knife, but also would be excellent just for daily carry. So that is one of the 2 different options, and I don't know which one I like better. I'm definitely getting the other one, especially now that I know it's only $160, which is crazy, but this will be for now. Now we could talk about elegant. Now a lot of these could be considered kind of like an elegant carry, like something that you would have sort of dress up, kind of lightweight. I definitely think the drift kind of counts for that. But right now in my collection, I think the one that I'm likely to carry is going to be the larger variant of the drift. This is the LC, or the large version of the drift. Does not have a forward finger choil. Huge blade on this, but still that nice thin profile. This is also going to be a saltwater knife, and you're going to see a trend with this. I prefer steels that are going to be basically impervious. I care less about having infinite edge retention. I want a knife that I can maintain. I want a knife that is not going to be something I have to worry about, and frankly, the pithing that happens from corrosion can really mess up an edge quite easily. So having something like this, well, it's just so nice to not have to worry about a knife. If I use this to fillet a fish, I don't care if the guts get inside. I'm gonna wash it off with a hose and keep going. And it sounds crazy to talk about it in the sense that this is a knife well over $300, not well over, just over $300. But we're talking about forever, like never buying another knife. And this is a knife that could, in theory, if you don't lose it, last forever. And so for that reason, it's on the list as sort of my elegant choice in this case. The last one is going to be the heavy duty knife. Now this is one you could probably skip. Most people would rather just say, why not just get a fixed blade? Well, the simple reason is that a fixed blade doesn't necessarily make it easy to carry. But there are knives out there, like the one I'm about to show you, which are basically a fixed blade in every context, even though they are folding. And the one we're going to talk about is going to be an AD10. And I have 2 right here. I got another one when they were on sale for under $100. And then I went ahead and bought something additional, which is these scales, which are custom made by Original Goat. And yeah, so now the knife is 3 times as expensive. So now it's like in the same line as these over here. So this custom gun stock texturing, they absolutely blew it out of the park. Just one of my favorite things ever. And because it replaces the liners entirely, it is the craziest smooth action for a backlock like ever, like insanely good. And still maintaining an incredible amount of strength, if not being stronger than it was before. Now with a full titanium frame, it is quite a bit heavier, that's for sure, but this is going to be an absolute beast of a knife. It was already a beast of a knife, and now even more so. So this would be number 5. There is no question in my head that this would be number 5. There are other knives like the SR1, but I find the problem with those knives is the SR1 is a 1/4 inch of steel. It is like a slicing pry bar, and it cleaves things instead of actually cutting things. Whereas the tall grind on the 8010 really lets you use this for more things. It's just a more versatile blade shape, in my opinion. It's taller, it's thinner, and it's still tough enough to do anything that you want to throw at it. So it has an incredibly thick piercing tip. You're not going to have to worry about this knife. And for that reason, the 8010 is number 5. Here they are, my 5 knives. If I was going to start over from scratch, I had an unlimited budget, and I could only pick 5 knives, these would be it. Interestingly, you'll notice that I don't have any button locks on this list, and I don't have any flipper tabs, and I've never been one to like them. There's a couple of knives in my collection that have them, and I actually do like those knives, but they've always not been for me. I am preferring thumb studs in my selection, and I'm curious, imagine you had an unlimited budget, but you could only pick 5 knives for life. What would you choose? Let me know down in the comments. I cannot wait to read all of your choices. As always, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk again soon.